Let's be faithful. From the previous chapters, you can see that unfaithfulness does not pay off. Moreover, adultery can have very serious and tragic consequences, making everyone involved a loser. Not just our spouse and children, but us too. Adultery isn't like an accidental stumble. It is preceded by many deliberately considered steps and decisions. If someone commits adultery and gets married again, how can their new spouse trust them if their new relationship springs from adultery? Since trust is the basis of any relationship, it is therefore obvious that the new relationship will not work well either. Fornication, or adultery, as interpreted in the New Testament scriptures of the Bible, is any act that destroys the committed covenant of marriage that has been made to build a common family in the physical, emotional, and spiritual areas. A distinction must be made between the Old and New Testament concepts of adultery, since the law prevailed in the Old Testament in accordance with contemporary culture. For example, men and women were not equal in the times of the Old Testament, so the punishment for adultery was applied in a differentiated way to men and women, which is clearly unfair. A man had more freedom than a woman. In the case of a man, only sexual intercourse with another man's wife or with an engaged woman was considered as adultery. But if he had sex with a single woman or slave woman, it was not considered adultery. If a woman did the same thing, it was considered adultery. A man could have more than one wife at a time, or he could have sexual relations with several women. See Abraham, Jacob, Gideon, David, King Solomon, and so on. But a woman was bound to one husband only for his lifetime. In the New Testament, the concept of adultery is very diverse. Jesus defined adultery in various ways in different situations for different reasons. If a married woman was caught in the sexual act with another man, other than her husband, Jesus Christ did not deny that this was adultery. See John 8, 3-11. Furthermore, it has been said, "Whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery." That's in Matthew 5, verses 31-32. Jesus points out that we must guard even our thoughts and desires, because whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. This is from Matthew 5, verse 28. The New Testament quotes the 6th commandment. The 10 commandments were already forbidding the coveting of another man's wife. Likewise, Jesus condemned the lust as much as the deed itself. That's why we don't flirt with anyone, and we don't engage in sexual jokes. Even with our gestures and our clothing, we do not suggest that we are open to intimacy with anyone other than our spouse. Jesus Christ did not invalidate the law of Moses, which condemns the adulterous person to death. But his purpose was completely different. He wanted to point out not only what is allowed and what is not, but also what is evil, wrong, and sinful, and to show how to live according to God's law, in love, freed from our sins. In today's parlance, he set the bar high, but he enforced the law with love. For example, The Samaritan woman had already had 5 husbands and was cohabiting with another man when she met Jesus, but he did not harshly condemn her. Instead, he led her to faith and conversion by lovingly revealing the truth. This is in John chapter 4, verses 1 to 42. Jesus rebuked the people who did not admit their sins and called them hypocrites. However, he was merciful to those who sincerely admitted and repented of their sins and were willing to turn away from them. For example, he told the adulterous woman, "Then neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin."
And the breastplate of righteousness. We put on the belt of truth to gird our loins. We put on the shoes of the gospel of peace. We take up the shield of faith and the sword of the Spirit in our hand today. We do all this to stand strong in the Spirit against the ways of the enemy. We will not be pushed back in Jesus' holy name.